The following is a presentation of the Force Center podcast feed.
As Obi-Wan Kenobi once said, hello there, and welcome to Force Center Presents Databank Dive. I'm Joseph Scrimshaw.
I'm Cat Napzok. This is a show where we dive deep into Star Wars Databanks, pull something out, a character, a ship, a vehicle, some tiny little thing you've forgotten about, and we talk about it, celebrate it, and dive on in. We had a original season released exclusively on the Companion. That still exists. You want to check it out, you can go to the Companion Sci-Fi app and check it out there. Joseph, I'm excited for today.
Yes, we have been doing 3 episodes. This is our 3rd episode, public-facing episode of Databank Dive, and we didn't really plan it. We didn't really discuss it, but we started with the original trilogy. Then we did something from the prequel trilogy, and I thought, let's find the wild and the weird and the fun in the sequel trilogy. So today, Ken, we will be discussing the Caretakers, a.k.a. the Linnea, a.k.a. the fish bird nuns from The Last Jedi. Very excited about this one.
Let's go to Ahch-To. Let's do it. I'm already there in my grumpy state. Let's go hang out with these wonderful characters.
Is it sunny or cloudy in the Ahch-To of your mind right now?
Some days it's sunny and some days it's cloudy. It's a mix.
The sun is shining behind the clouds in the Ahch-To of my mind as we dive into this discussion. Here's what we do on Databank Dive. We first look at what the actual Star Wars.com databank has to say about the topic, and then we will proceed to the wilds of Wookieepedia. So here's what the Star Wars.com databank has to say about the Caretakers. An enclave of females from the Linnea species, the Caretakers dwell on Ahch-To's sacred island and consider it their religious duty to maintain its ancient structures and care for any seekers of truth drawn to their lonely planet. Male Linneas spend most of their time at sea, returning for monthly celebrations.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. I mean, this is like this entry in the databank is like a really good song that then has just like a banger surprise conclusion.
Oh, I love that.
Right? Because it's a pretty great, just straightforward description of what we see and what we're told about the Caretakers in the actual movie, The Last Jedi. And then, of course, we have that cut scene that we will discuss, that deleted scene where we see the female Caretakers partying with the male Linnea. But this should end with an ellipsis, right? If this last sentence was, male Linnea spend most of their time at sea, returning for monthly celebrations, ... if you know what I mean. Absolutely love it.
I would love to know if there's any listeners who are like unaware of that deleted scene or have not read the supplemental material and are like, what are you talking about? I only saw the nuns. There's more people there? That'd be great. But yes, so much there.
Yeah. The implication is that the males are at sea, basically being weird fish bird pirates, and then they come back once a month for a party, and all that might imply and entail.
Yeah. And someone cranks up Looking Glasses, Brandy, you're a fine girl. What a good Linnea wife you would be. Yeah.
Brandy, you're a fine fish bird. Yeah. Beautiful. So there's even more flavor to be had here on Wookieepedia. Here's what Wikipedia has to say. Native to the aquatic planet Ahch-To, Linneas were an avian sentient species who evolved from the same evolutionary stock of seabirds that produced unintelligent porgs. So let's just stop right there for a second. I'm curious, one, if you like that idea that they evolved from the same stock as the porgs, because they're all native to this planet, and are you deeply insulted by Wikipedia calling porgs unintelligent?
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. Let's start there. Yeah, absolutely. I am. You know, not the porgs I know, sir. I've never heard that. Spend time. I never heard that. I'm totally okay with it. I have to sit with that for a second. Wow. I'd love to go back to the beginning of Ahch-To, the dawn of time.
And watch. Yeah. Do you want to see like an animated nature documentary that's voiced over by David Attenborough, and we watch the stock split into the Linnea and split into the unintelligent porgs?
I would like to go back in time and make some of these. Have like Leonard Nimoy or Carl Sagan speaking on here. The island of Ahch-To. Yes, let's do it.
Yeah, the unintelligent porgs. I understand what they're saying.
Unclear
if the porgs are, if they sit around and reflect on their own existence, right? If they're like, this is what it means to be a porg, right? Clearly, the Linnea are sentient. Clearly, they're like, I have opinions about my existence and when the males will be back from the sea. I have thoughts. But I would call the porgs plucky, curious.
Yes. Sassy.
Sassy.
Sprightly. Yeah. Opinionated. Yeah.
The same stock that produced the sassy porgs. That would be better. We'll go edit Wikipedia. Moving on, the Linnea possessed salt glands that helped to extract sea salt from their food and drink, and extra membranes that enabled sharp underwater vision. A lot of biological detail. Linnea spoke a non-basic language of the same name, which was a combination of spoken words and hand motions, and were able to communicate with Jedi Master Luke Skywalker during his self-imposed exile on Ahch-To. Written language, which consisted of marks based on the shape of their feet, was rare, and fire signals were preferred for long-range communications. I'm also going to pause there. What do you make of this idea that their written language is based on the shape of their feet? Did they used to like stamp out angry letters to one another in the sand? What is that about?
I think that's where it must have begun, like if some sort of primitive form of ink, and you step in it and then you step on the parchment, and so feet off, feeder, like it just like that's what it would be. I think this is fantastic. This is some of the best Wikipedia stuff I've seen in a while, and the Star Wars Databank. Wow, talk about needing an ellipses. There's a lot that's not on there.
There's a lot more to be said. I think it's because the caretakers are, presented in the movie is, being, frustrated. That they're grumpy about things, being disturbed. They're really working hard to keep things clean. So I think of them as generally comically grumpy. So there's something about just picturing like, I have something to say, and I say it by stamping with my feet.
Yeah.
I'm gonna jump in some ink, and then I'm going to write you an angry letter. Here's my Yelp review stamped out with my feet. It's very cathartic.
Yeah, and then the combination of spoken words and hand motions. I have many Italian friends. I don't have Italian grandmothers, but it's like communicating with my Italian friends where I'm like, put your hands down, Paulie. Like, what are you doing here?
And then fire signals were preferred for long-range communications. Like, instead of email, they had a bonfire.
Yeah, that makes that of all the things we've discussed so far, that makes the most sense to me.
Exactly. Continuing, Wikipedia says, to keep rhythm during their repetitive chores, their culture was intrinsically musical. Linnea's song was a mix of whistles and guttural oscillations that echo from their villages and work sites. What this makes me think of is I have started to grumble and groan out loud sometimes when I'm not aware that I do it. And my wife has had to say, like, I thought you were writing, but it sounds like you're going. Like, well, I'm doing both right now. And apparently I come from the tradition of Linnea.
This is great. This is also their version of like putting on Spotify while you clean the house. Like I'm good with this. This is fantastic. I would love a Linnea album of working tunes.
Oh, yeah. The music to do chores by. Guttural oscillations to do chores by. By the caretakers.
This is totally a Mutual of Omaha Wild Kingdom episode now. Going back a ways. Yeah.
Even the name is great. The Caretakers sound like some weird corporate-formed knockoff of the Beatles from the 1960s. You like the Beatles? Check out the Caretakers. Just a little bit more here from Wikipedia. The Jedi Master's presence on the island was accepted and tolerated by the Linneas, but when Rey came to the island to be trained by Luke, the Caretakers found that she disrupted their work. On one occasion, Rey lifted 2 Linnea using the Force out of frustration before she put them back down. It is apparently from a Star Wars Adventures comic book for children of all ages. Finally, it says, during the development of Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, Linnea were at one point going to appear as a group of assassins on Kijimi. Did you want to see Linnea just going out there and doing some guttural oscillations and some long-range fire communication while they kill?
Look, while you're developing these things, you throw a lot of things against the wall to see what sticks. So I have no problem with them doing that. I don't want to see that at all, but yet it's all I can think about right now. Like, what would that have looked like? Like, and if Zori worked with them, are they there to get Zori? That's fascinating to me.
Yeah, I think the fascinating thing to me about it is since they were so established is they are of this place. They,
Yeah.
evolved from the same, sort of central species as the porgs. That was there a day where some Linnea were like, you all want to stay here and take care of these ancient spiritual structures. We want to go out into the galaxy and kill for money. See ya.
Well, it's like you got off-world Jawas, but they're kind of like, yeah, we're continuing the line of work, just in another. We moved, but I love that. Yeah, this. You know what? Enough of sweeping. I'm hacking, like for money. Like what?
From
That's
sweeping to hacking, the differences in
fascinating.
Linnea culture across the galaxy. Yeah, or the other implication would be that this is somehow a result of the events of The Last Jedi, that like Luke and
Hmm.
Rey's presence on the island and Chewie just somehow broke them and they had enough and like, all right, enough of this. Time to go out to
I,
the galaxy and
yeah,
murder.
I can get behind that. There you go. Makes some sense.
Any other thoughts on this entry from Wookieepedia?
Yeah, it was juicy. A ton of wonderful things there I never thought about and never thought I'd need to think about and learned a lot. That's fascinating. No, there you go. Love it.
And that's what we do here on Databank Dive is think and talk about things that we probably don't need to.
Yes.
We are going to take a quick break right now, and then we're going to be back to dive into the appearance, the magic, the fun of the Caretakers. Back in a moment. And we are back here on Databank Dive. Ken, we've already been talking about the Caretakers for a bit here, but now it's time for us to physically describe them. For anybody who hasn't, doesn't automatically know what they look like or hasn't flipped open a book or the internet, what are the Caretakers? What do they physically look like to you?
Yeah. Do you remember as a kid, maybe you caught a tadpole and you put it in a jar and it slowly started to become a frog, but it wasn't quite a frog, not yet a frog, not still a tadpole. Good Britney Spears song. And then suddenly, you put a like nun habit on it and give it a broom. That's a caretaker to me. Somewhere between all that now, which makes more sense with the Porg connection. Little frog-like, friendly. I think adorable in their own, babushka grandma kind of way, but obviously much more than that. Frog-like skin, amphibian-like skin, feet, whatever you want to say there. A little bit of turtle, but a whole lot of fish. Like there's a lot going on there.
I really love framing this in terms of like a very confusing pop song. There have been pop songs throughout the age where, someone describes the person of their affection, whatever gender.
Mhm.
Obviously, a lot of songs where a dude describes a woman. But imagine a song like this of like, she's got a face that's kind of like a whale. She's got legs that are kind of like a bird. She dresses kind of like a nun, and you're just like, whoa, what are you describing in this song?
I love it's like you're referencing almost a Big Bopper hit from the 50s, and I respect that. She's got a squishy in her walk and a tail in her legs. There's a lot going on there. Sorry, a lot going on there.
Yeah. So there is this really interesting combination. I love all the animals that you're struggling with when it comes to like the basic face of like, is that a turtle? Is that a halfway mature frog? I'm getting whale vibes. Shark?
Yeah.
What? Yeah, clearly amphibian, right? In the face. But the overwhelming thing for me, I rewatched that deleted scene of the caretaker party that we were referencing, and just to see a little bit of quality time with the caretakers there, and no matter how interesting, fun, weird their general anatomy is, the fact that they are just kind of straight up dressed as nun-like figures, right?
Yeah.
Caretakers. That's the like overwhelming emotion to me. And then watching that scene and seeing them like kind of up in a mountainous space, I was like, oh, this is how I would describe the Caretakers if somebody had never seen this movie. Is like, the Sound of Music? When the nuns, help the Von Trapp family? It's that, but they're fish birds. That's who they are.
Fish birds. Yes. That's absolutely accurate.
How do you solve a problem like Rey Skywalker? That's what they're singing. So for you, what is the magic of the Caretakers? What do they add to the legend, the legacy of Star Wars?
We're laughing and joking, but that's what I love about them. They are completely weird, and I enjoy Ahch-To as a concept. I enjoyed it as a location in Star Wars. I love where we ended up in The Force Awakens with it. It was so powerful to see Rey go up those stairs. So it was a very spiritual spot, and we had a lot of time to wonder what was really going on there. Is that rock Yoda? Is that a gravestone? All those kind of things, which are just fun speculation. But then when we get there and we got the adorable porgs, or annoying if you're on that side of it, but I think you're wrong. They're adorable. And then the caretakers. It was so wonderfully bizarre. It was so Star Wars in a wild and weird way that I just immediately love them. And I think the humor works. Grace and I will still, my partner, my fiance, we watched Last Jedi. We both still laugh at Rey sending that rock down the hill and taking out the wheelbarrow. Like it all kind of works for me. And the fact that they're not really, I wouldn't call them not nice, but they're clearly grumpy about what's going on there with Rey. It just all really worked for me. And I just think there's a certain magic to them, just the wild and weird side of Star Wars, but having a little bit of poignancy because I think their purpose there is great.
Yeah, no, I think that's the thing for me is they do, like a lot of things we end up talking about, they are fun and funny, but they just slide back and forth in my mind between having like actual meaning and depth to also just being weird and funny. And it's one of the reasons that I like Star Wars so much. There is so much about Ahch-To, like, Sacred Island, the very beginning of this Jedi philosophy that is under examination in the film and in lots of Star Wars stories. And there's so much about it that's like powerful and cool to watch Luke Skywalker starting on Tatooine, farm boy, staring at the twin suns, wondering what's out there for him, to, ending his adventure on this mortal plane on this, beautiful pinnacle of a celebration of the light side of the Force, right? It's poetic and powerful and beautiful. And they're also grumpy fish nuns.
Yes.
Right. It could just be all of this sort of like the power and the awe. But that is what I love about Star Wars. It always wants to keep it human by having like some fun and some whimsy. And they really add to that. They are, they kind of crack me up because they're like, on one side, they're this really great idea that history matters, preservation matters. Does history matter is at stake in Last Jedi and the whole sequel trilogy. And there are these whole species that they've built up a culture around. Like, yes, what happened here matters. We need to preserve these structures, this tradition, this history, and that's like really deep and meaningful. And then at the same time, it's like they're kind of like they're at the Ren Fest all the time if it was real.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It's like this turkey leg stand has always been here and it always will be, and we'll preserve it for anybody who ever wants a turkey leg.
Yes. No, and great idea to attach it to some of the bigger themes there. And again, they have this in-story purpose to protect what was there, and it ties to the bigger picture of what The Last Jedi is communicating to us. So love it. Love it.
Yeah. And there's this fun, grumpy comedy too. Like, we are preserving these so people can come and find peace. But then I was like, oh man, you're kind of in my way here.
Well,
preserve it for this purpose. And now you're kind of, you're messing it up.
Exactly. And then Rey goes shooting out walls. I mean, come on.
Come on. Yeah. So let's talk about a little bit about the interruption in their caretaking that comes with Luke Skywalker and Rey. They seem to get along with Luke. Luke can communicate with them, all those things. What do you think the caretakers think happened to Luke Skywalker when maybe they kind of spy him? Like, he's having some ups and downs. He blew apart that one structure I'm sure they're not happy about. But then he went up to meditate and he just never came back down. What do you think the conversations are there?
I think they have some sort of understanding, and not just the fact that they can kind of communicate with one another, but I think as a group, the caretakers have probably seen something similar to this before. I think they've seen a lot of people come in and out of there that are Jedi. You can make a joke in reference to the gift shop they got there where we believe Luke's green blade is, so this kind of thing has happened before, but the fact that this guy kind of is setting up shop here, I think they see it. I think they understand. And because I think he has ability to just kind of adapt and be part of the land there and accept it and use the Thal Siren's milk and fish and all this. They don't see it as he's not an interloper at all to them. And they're just going to let it happen, and they get it. Yeah.
No, I really like that. I really do feel like they're like, he is using this place the way it is meant to be used. He is being of the space. And using the bounty of the land and the way it is, meant to be. It's natural. It's all great. He doesn't get in the way too much, doesn't make too big of a mess. And yeah, I think that, they've had visitors come and go, and like, sometimes they leave in a ship. Maybe sometimes they jump in the ocean and swim off to another island.
Yeah.
Who knows? I don't know if they're totally like, yes, he has become one with the Force, following the path of Qui-Gon Jinn. Like, I feel like they're kind of disconnected from that stuff. I know there's a bit in the novelization, right, where it's kind of implied that they tucked away his belongings, that they've got his classic green blade. But on the more comedy side for me, like Luke does kind of have a lot of hidey holes, right? So I wonder if they're like, the one thing we don't like is he did hide a lot of things. So the tree's burned. Great. We found a robe floating around. Maybe they found a hand if the hand didn't come with him into the Force. We know that he's got that hidey hole that he's keeping Leia's lightsaber in. So like, I wonder if as soon as he's left it, like, that man has squirreled something behind every stone on this island, and we're finding them all.
It's like when a rock band checks out of a hotel. Like, do you really want to go there and see what they did in that room? I don't know. So I think, there's probably some conversations about it. All right, the next one that checks in here, no hidey holes.
No hidey holes. That's one of our new rules. So in Rise of Skywalker, where Rey returns to the island, Luke's spirit communes with her and lifts that X-Wing out. Do you think any of the caretakers see that X-Wing lift up, and are they like, yes, finally? We've been trying to, create a system of ropes and pulleys to get rid of that thing. Thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I got to imagine any rust from the ship might have, affected the natural habitat there. I think some of them are really excited. Some of them probably accepted it was part of what was going on there. So maybe they were divided. They'll talk about that at the monthly party and meetings. But I think, absolutely. And who knows? Maybe some of them were, I don't think they have an active opinion on the state of the galaxy, but they're there for the Force and they get it. I think in some degree, I'm not saying they're practicing or sensitive in the way like Maz Kanata or Lor San Tekka is, but I think it's they're picking up on the energy there. So I think they get that, and I think there's probably some happy that not that the X-Wings, just that the X-Wings leaving, but that something important has happened.
Right. They're not seeing Luke, but they are feeling him, right? They're in the rhythm of the Force and feel that something joyful is happening in that moment. Yeah. Yep. Taking a quick left turn away from joy. How pissed off do you think the caretakers were when Rey came back for a little while and started burning a ship on the island? I appreciate the Porg showing up in episode 9. You get to live with them a little bit more. You need to, JJ was like, whether you love them or not, I was like, the Porg's got to be here. Yeah. But I wouldn't have, it would have been, look, I'm answering this serious. I think it would have been out of place in that moment, episode 9. But also, I really would like the deleted scene of two of them being like, no, like, oh, shoot, get out of here. And they're and Rey kind of going, no, I'm kind of, but she's also asking, do you have an opening? Do you have a vacancy? Can I check in? And they're not giving her an inch. Yeah, I think that they are stomping and whistling. They're writing a stern letter with their feet, laying down the rules of like, all right, we're not going to tell you no, but if you're here.
Like they hand her a parchment. And she's like, I don't understand. It's just a bunch of your feet. It's a horrible Rey accent, but it's like, I don't get this. What is this?
That's what Rey sounds like when she's very upset. It's understandable. Yeah, I do. The way that scene is cut, obviously Luke and Rey have their great conversation when he first appears to her down kind of at the shore, and then he takes her back up to the hut area to give her Leia's blade. So there's obviously some travel time in between there. And I think, don't want to disrupt some of that depth with too much comedy. But there is, in my mind, there's a scene where Luke's like, I have something for you. And Rey's climbing those stairs again, right? And a caretaker just does like a double take. And they're carrying something of value. And they just hold it to their chest and move away from Rey, this force of destruction.
Force of destruction, the Ahch-To years, yes.
Yeah, I mean, that Rey's afraid that she will use her power in the wrong ways and harm things and break things, and the caretakers are probably like, yeah, good point, Rey. She doesn't need their negative energy right now. So wanted to touch on this deleted scene. If you're not aware of it and you have Last Jedi on disc or on Disney Plus, you can go to, I believe, the extras tab, and there is you can watch the scene just by itself, or you can watch it with a commentary from the director Rian Johnson. But it's basically a short scene where Luke fibs to Rey and says that the male Linnea who are coming back to the island for the party are raiders. Rey runs down there to try to help the Linnea and gets taught a lesson from Luke, and then Rey teaches Luke a lesson too, to be fair. But then in between, we just get to see the caretakers partying. They have wrapped lights around around R2, and Chewie's there, and it's just a big old dance party with fun instruments. And you see the male Linnea there, the pirate, the pirate fish guys, fish bird guys. My question, Ken, how much alcohol do you think is flowing at that party?
Oh my gosh! No, if you played Lego Skywalker Saga game, you can explore Ahch-To and you can head down to that part of the island, and yeah, you can feel it. You could feel it. It's a good outdoor barbecue kind of drunk where it's like sunny and Coors Light's drying you up, so you're just making Dos Equis, and you're just making a lot of bad decisions there around the barbecue pit. No, I love. Again, I actually think the deleted scene works better deleted, but there's a lot I love between Rey and Luke in those scenes. I think there's some great humor, some personality, some important lessons. I think it was the intentions were great. I think just for pacing and all that stuff, I'm okay with it. I'm just fascinated. There's some great comedy. I love with one of them like making the motion to Rey to move the lightsaber. Like I don't know,
like
and maybe
the rave stick, yeah.
And I know that tone, the comedy, Last Jedi doesn't work for a lot of folks. I totally get that, and maybe it's too much in this scene, but I do enjoy the scene, and it's worth watching if you haven't.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's fun to just see them like cutting loose, right? There's this like picture of like, okay, they are very disciplined to the point of being grumpy. They do their chores. They take care of this island. They take care of these structures. It's sacred. But then you got to blow off some steam.
Yeah.
And they just look like they're having a grand old time. And I think, definitely like some, whatever the Star Wars version of beer and lemonade shandies are, they are pounding them like mad. It is a nice summer drink.
A lot of meat on the barbie there. Yeah, no, look, the Linnea work hard, party hard, and I think they've earned that.
Yeah, and they're clearly like, hey, Chewie, R2, you haven't smashed anything. Come on in.
By the way, I love that Chewie's there. That connects to Solo, too. A double fist and Chewie at the party. Let's drink, too. I got it. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, it really works for me. And I'd never thought of this before, but I also do like the idea that, hey, the caretakers and the pirate male Linneas, that they get chatting and then they go back out to the sea. I wonder if the male caretakers share whispers, rumors of what happens on Ahch-To. Do they help spread the legend of Luke Skywalker? There was a grumpy guy who came to our party.
I like that idea. That might be a little bit why Rey's heard that, right? That it's gone through, and then the caretaker, the male Linnea, hit a spaceport, and someone goes to Nima Outpost. Ooh, I love that headcanon. Love that.
Yeah. Pass it on. Weird whispers of Grumpy Island Man. We always like to make it personal here on Databank Dive and think about what if these weird things were real? Ken, if the caretakers made house calls to our galaxy, would you hire them to clean your home?
I absolutely need to hire them. We have a pretty clean house around these parts, but it's not fair for Grace or I to have to maintain it all the time. I want the caretakers here. I know they could be a little grumpy. I'm fine with that. I'm totally okay. You be as grumpy as you want, but I would love their help to preserve the history of my house.
That's the thing, is like they're probably more about preservation than, I mean, obviously they sweep, they clean, they do all those things. I can't get past my fear of their judgment. I know it's a Star Wars thing. You should confront your fear, but I just imagine them picking up some of the things. Some of the very dusty action figures in my house. Would they at least support me in not opening many action figures? Would they look at the few action figures I've opened and go, you should have preserved these?
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Yeah. Well, they'd have a problem looking at me. And I don't want to offend the Linnea and just say I'm assuming they're only housekeepers. That's the upside of what they do. The preservation does tend to be cleaner than what I do here.
Yeah, so let's talk about that then. How would you feel if the caretakers just came to your home and they communicated to you through stomps and guttural oscillations?
Oh, they'd be stomping. I think Frances, my younger Chihuahua, would be the Ray of the situation. They'd be a little grumpy with her. They'd love, but Baxter is the Luke of the situation. Just kind of wants to be left alone at the beginning of Last Jedi. And a lot of stomps. I think they would love the most of the house because of Grace's, aesthetic and the way she keeps the house. But my office it's not even that it's a mess. It just is as if Luke moved in here with a bunch of Sith relics and Jedi relics and was like, I don't know, let's put them all in here. So I think they'd close the door on this office.
But would you feel honored if they insisted that you're wrong about your office? It's a holy site to them, and it needs to be preserved. All those piles need to stay exactly where they are. It's a holy site.
I would appreciate that. That would be a great thing. Help me win some arguments. But I think, I once had my old apartment. Again, I'm not a messy person. I can be an organized clutter, like a lot of creative people. And my old roommate brought he paid a lot of money for a feng shui expert to come into our apartment. And she came, my door is open, and she just said, can we please close that? And wasn't nice about it. And I think that's the caretaker vibe that would be here.
Yeah, I love the idea of the caretakers deciding that my spaces are holy and to be preserved exactly as they are. And I imagine me being gone for generations, and there's a caretaker whose job is to sit at that exact place on the couch so it remains a worn and butt-shaped from all of the television watching. And I would take pride that they wouldn't open my action figures. All right, we're going to head into our final rating. We always like to rate the wild and weird factor of the thing we're discussing. Our rating is based on one of the original Star Wars weirdos, Lobot. So out of 10 Lobot heads, 1 being the least, 10 being the most, how many Lobot heads do you give the Caretakers of Ahch-To?
Coming into this, I was going to hover around a 6.5 and a 7 upon hearing that we were covering the Caretakers. But then to hear a little bit more, the feet stomping way communication, the evolving from the same strand as support, I'm going 9. This is some of the weirdest, most wonderful, bizarre stuff I've experienced in Star Wars. And so because they're such in this serious, reflective, somber place, and you got all this personality, it even just kind of heightens the wonderful weirdness of it. So I'm going 9.
9, nice. I'm going 8 out of 10 because they're pretty weird to look at, right? You look at them and you go like, I get it. They're kind of like, they're fish nuns. I get it. And then you kind of do a double take, go through the list of animals that you didn't like. But wait, their feet are like bird thing. What? They are some of the great double take characters in Star Wars. So just when you think you got a handle on them, you learn how much more there is to be discovered. So I'm giving them a full 8 out of 10.
It's wonderful. Wonderful. 8 Lobots, huh?
8 Lobot heads to the caretakers. Now they have a lot more things to take care of, all the Lobot heads we gave them. Ken, where can people find you?
Hey, you can find me at Ken Napzok or go to my website, kennapzok.com.
Excellent. And you can find links to everything that Force Center does on our Twitter account at Force Center Pod. We're doing a lot more on YouTube, so you can check that out. And of course, all of our other podcasts. Thank you very much for listening to Databank Dive. If you'd like to find me, all of my Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, that's all at Joseph Scrimshaw. And you can check out my website, josephscrimshaw.com. But for now, for myself, for Ken, for the Caretakers, this has been Databank